Okay, hi there, I'm David McIntyre. This is my reflective assignment based on the lesson plan that I made. So I'm just going to walk you through the different choices that I made in terms of content, pedagogy, the technology that I used, why I used them, why I included certain options. And yeah, so we'll just get into it and it should be great. So for this lesson plan, I was very focused on utilizing technology that would add to the lesson plan instead of technology being the focus of the lesson plan. So I was very careful regarding that. And with teaching a grade 2 class, I wanted the lesson in technology used to be very straightforward, to be very familiar and user friendly. And so the students wouldn't get lost, and that the technology would be used effectively in accordance with the activity. The technology used in my lesson was a projector, PowerPoint, computers, and a program called Doozla. These types of technology are easily accessible in elementary schools, which definitely played a role in choosing them. During my time working at elementary school, actually, the program Doozla was used often for grades 1 to 3, whether it was used for practicing spelling words, creating art, developing technological skills, and just getting used to using a computer. So for my lesson plan, I thought that it would be extremely fitting to use a program that's already in use in elementary schools and designed for elementary school student use. So this program, in regards to my lesson plan, allows the students to express creativity, to engage their imagination, having to visualize and create something brand new, which is their homes as if they were in an Inuit community, which, I mean, I'm sure that they haven't thought of that too much. The projector I chose because I wanted to engage the students on a visual level before doing it in an auditory way. It is practical, it's easy to use, and it allows me to show things on my school computer to the students without much time being lost in setup. The use of PowerPoint would be in relation to the use of the projector. Initially used for me to show the photo of an Inuit community or several photos, and then my sample final project, which I can show you now. It's very good. I just drew it quickly just to give you an idea of what I'd be doing. So I just drew it with pencil because I don't have the use of Doozla on my home computer, but there it is. So as you can see, there's my home. It's up on some stilts. It's next to some very cold water. There's a kayak. There's some sled dogs. There's mountains because it's in the Arctic. There's not many good roads because it's so much snow and ice. So that would be me presenting my final project of saying, hey, this is what I want it to look like, with students adding a sentence on the bottom saying, this is what I learned about an Inuit community, which I think would be awesome for a time of reflection. But yeah, so the projector would be used for the visual. The PowerPoint would be used to show my sample final project, to show pictures of the Inuit community, and that would lead to a collaboration of all the students' final projects where they'd all put their pictures that they made on a PowerPoint, and then it'd be put onto the projector, and that each student would take turns kind of presenting their picture and why they included what they did and what they learned. So I actually believe that all of these technologies work really well with each other because in order for the lesson to work, each plays an instrumental role. And it adds a fun and exciting aspect to the lesson as well. It's very exciting to see something you created on a large scale. For me personally, definitely. Especially ones that you get to talk to your friends and classmates about. The content was chosen directly out of the Alberta Grade 2 Social Studies curriculum under 2.1. I'm familiar with the content from working at my old elementary school and being in a grade 1-2 split and working with the grade 2 students on this section of the course. So it's very familiar to me. However, instead of working exclusively off the textbook, which is what we did in the classroom that I worked in, I wanted to add a creative flair that got the students excited about learning about different communities and cultures and applying to the knowledge to their own lives. I also spent time overseas working in orphanages and teaching English. So I've always loved learning about other cultures and communities, so this content and direction was actually really close to my heart. In terms of pedagogy, I was very focused on not presenting a lesson strictly lecture-based and teacher-centric. I personally have always learned better with doing something hands-on and learning how something was actually relevant to me. So I really wanted to incorporate those aspects into the lesson plan, as well as address other ways of learning for students who learn differently. I really like the idea of students and self-discovery through discussion and collaboration. So those were two major aspects of the lesson I incorporated. The lesson does begin teacher-centric, introducing a foreign community, what the teacher did for their sample project, and getting the ball rolling on discussion. However, as the lesson continues, it becomes very student-centered, that empowers the learner. I'm also a very social person, so being able to work with groups was always a very special treat. So I wanted to give students that opportunity to work with other students that may offer a different point of view that they have, and maybe challenge their way of thinking. I found that this lesson plan, the technology used, worked exceptionally well with the pedagogy aspects of the lesson because it empowered the learner, giving them control over their project, use creativity, and apply the knowledge that they have learned to their own lives through a fun program that works really amazingly. As well as with the content being, as it is about a different community, it's still relatable. Because the students know about their own community and how they see how different people have different homes and different environments, and how other people live, and what it would be like if they lived in that community. The content still relies on the teacher to be the one with a majority of the information, but once the teacher puts the information out there, it's the students that can access it and apply it in different ways. And overall, I believe that all three kind of interact with each other and to make a very balanced lesson plan that benefits the students' learning. In regards to digital citizenship and terms of use, I didn't include it in my lesson plan because I didn't feel as if they were applicable to the lesson. Based on the project they were doing, they were working through an offline program designed for elementary school student use. If I were to add it to the lesson plan, it might feel out of place or forced, and I don't believe the students would actually take anything from it based on the content that we were learning. However, if the lesson plan was to be adapted to, say, the students choosing their own program or application to create their picture, then terms of use and digital citizenship could definitely be a part of the lesson plan and would actually be an important aspect. However, with everyone using the same program that's designed for elementary school use, because it's offline, I did feel as if it was unnecessary to include. I also did not include any maker movement big ideas because with the portions of the lesson already having group aspects of discussion and splitting into groups to do the projects, I did want a level of individualization with the projects, making it unique and personalized, which I wanted to be done through using the program Duzla. The lesson plan also could have been adapted to a classroom project where we as a class create an Inuit community and each student gets to contribute and add to this model community. However, I chose to take the lesson plan in a different direction because I like the incorporation of the computer lab, allowing students to become more and more comfortable with using computers and even associating them with creation. I thought that was very important. I did include a possible integration of emerging trends/technology described in the 2016 Horizons report, predominantly showing how aspects of the lesson are in accordance with short and midterm trends already. In regards to the short-term trends, it empowers students to be creators, which is a big aspect of the lesson with their projects, because that's exactly what the students are doing. In regards to midterm trends, it focuses on collaborative learning, which is achieved in the lesson through the group work aspect. And then furthered the option by introducing an adaptation of virtual reality, which would be attributed as a midterm trend because it could be used for a lot of years to come. I did include adaptations in the lesson plan that virtual reality could be introduced, which I was just kind of leading off of. except it would be with the substitution of the projector to the use of Google Glasses, which we saw in the Maker Movement big event. So students would be able to see much more of an Inuit community if they were being able to use virtual reality to actually immerse themselves into that virtual reality, which I think would add a new level of excitement, and it would also allow the teacher to actually shift the focus of where they want the students to see, aspects of the community. The only constraints that I found with this activity would be time and accessibility, to make sure that each student had a turn to the experience of the community via virtual reality. It would take a lot of pairs of glasses and devices to work in accordance with them. Another constraint would be actually getting an Inuit community as an option of virtual reality, as it's not one of the stock options. But if these constraints were overcome, it would add definitely a new level of excitement. It would each student may take away something different, adding collaboration to the lesson due to the students actually wanting to share their unique experiences with each other, which I think would be very cool. I did not include different learning theories in my lesson plan, though I did address students needing to learn in different ways and using the lesson plan to address those needs. I did not correspond each shift of teaching to a different learning theory. Though the learning theories were definitely interesting to learn about, I don't like to put constraints on students' learning or my own teaching. To say I'm going to teach constructivism learning theory and then move to connectivism learning theory, because I fear it'd be more about trying to abide by a certain framework rather than actually focusing on the kids. So though those learning theories definitely have their place and have helped increase different students' learning, I chose not to include them in my lesson plan. I also didn't include affordances and constraints as per UDL to my lesson plan because I didn't feel as if it was really applicable to my lesson. Though in the introductory part during the lesson plan, there could be a more open environment that allows students to not just be sitting in a traditional classroom or desks. However, I feel like that would have been something that would have already been addressed at the start of the year. And in a computer lab and presenting at the front of the class for the end of the project, I find that there's a lot of limitations for flexibility of learning environments that could accommodate different learners. So in terms of this lesson, I would say there are constraints rather than affordances. However, I still decided to keep it out of my lesson plan as it was based more off of a traditional classroom outlook. And finally, I also included, as I showed you earlier, my sample final project, which I find is an excellent way for students to see not only what the expectation is for the final project, but also gives them a general idea of what they should be doing when they start on their project. It also creates, I think it creates a bond with the teacher, knowing that they've already done the project and the students are going to follow in their footsteps and create something that they did too, which I think is important as well. And though it could be criticized that students may take ideas from the teacher's sample project that ends up inhibiting their creativity, that may be true for a couple students, but I find that it would overall decrease any anxiety or take away any uncertainties that may have been present beforehand in students regarding the project, as well as this being a grade 2 classroom. I think it's okay that students copy some aspects of the final project, because it shows that they're first off paying enough attention to notice things that you were teaching, as well as they're incorporating things into the project that are going to be a part of an Inuit community, which is definitely part of the lesson plan. Obviously, if it was a straight copy, it would need to be addressed, but however, I don't believe that would be a major problem. So yeah, overall, that is my reflection. Thank you so much for your time for watching and listening to me rant about it, and I hope you enjoyed this beautiful, beautiful home in an Inuit community based off some pictures that I looked up. And yeah, have a good Christmas break.